Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I'm your host, Patsun, and today we're gonna be taking a look at r/TrueOffMyChest, where a cheating girlfriend's affair just blew up in her face. Let's begin. Today's first story was posted by Reddit user Ionic3127.
So recently, I found out that my ex had a flirtatious relationship at work with one of her managers at the restaurant where she works. This involved dirty talking during shifts, explicit compliments, photo sharing, and making plans to hang out. I confronted her and told her to stop texting the other guy and block him. Something told me to check her phone again, and it didn't even take a full day for her to respond to his texts on iMessage, continuing the cheating. What's worse is how she described getting caught by me, calling it hilarious, funny, and saying she'd reach out to this guy after we were done. She made me feel like a doormat, a joke, an option, as if everything we had was just a game for her. Feeling emasculated, embarrassed, and shocked she could talk about me like this to another man, I posted her incriminating screenshots to her social media feeds, Instagram and Snapchat stories, since I had access to her accounts. I also sent the screenshots to the guy she was cheating with and to her boss at work, given that it was another manager from the restaurant. Lastly, I sent them to her mother, as she had been texting this guy the entire week I was helping her mother move into her new home. The guy responded immediately, but her boss and mother have yet to reply. She later called me to apologize, but the damage was already done. I broke the news to her about what I did and told her to screw off. I think I went overboard, as this is something I've never done before, taking revenge on someone by exposing them like this. Short update 1. I've seen that her boss has looked at the message I sent about my ex cheating at work with another manager. The boss hasn't replied yet, but she definitely knows now. Time will tell if my ex continues working there. Short update 2. Apparently, she still has her job at the restaurant, and she's doing damage control after the social media posts. Short update 3. She messaged me, updating me on the fallout. She accused me of being spiteful and said only someone like me would care to see this happen. The conversation devolved into a nasty name-calling match. The damage is done, and I'm done talking to her. I'm now going to seek therapy and work on myself for the better. I didn't expect this situation to blow up as it did, but I appreciate all the advice. She never truly wanted me or deserved me. Short update 4. I contacted the restaurant owner and showed him pictures of what happened. He said he legally couldn't get involved in situations that happened outside the restaurant, even though the screenshots clearly showed her and the manager sexually flirting during work hours. I don't think he wants to get involved. We live in an at-will employment state, meaning the employer can fire employees for any reason that isn't illegal. So while it's uncomfortable for her, the owner, the GM, and the manager she cheated with, she'll likely keep her job, but it will definitely be an awkward work environment. Final update, the guy she cheated on me with is a single father co-parenting a son with another woman. I found out who the woman was and showed her all the screenshots. Unfortunately, she had already seen texts between them going back over a year. She told him to stop texting my ex because she didn't want him associating with anyone who didn't like the mother of their son. My ex was incredibly rude and snobbish toward her, even though they knew each other. While the woman wasn't aware of the full extent of their relationship, she knew they texted frequently. Unsurprisingly, their relationship ended because he had also cheated on her at the same restaurant with another woman while their son was very young. For all my ex's talk about not wanting to be a single mother and despising her father for cheating on her mother during pregnancy, she sure seemed to enjoy playing the role of the other woman.
How exactly did you think you went overboard? You did the bare minimum when discovering your partner cheating, exposing their affair. OP, you went easy on her. As long as you didn't release any nudes, then you're in the clear on this one. You dodged a bullet. Be grateful for that. Our second story was posted by Reddit user Trying to Hold the Wind.
My wife, an extrovert, and I, an introvert, started dating in our mid-20s. We both had our fill of one-night stands and cheating partners. 3 years later, we were married. We were best friends who had a lot of fun and couldn't keep our hands off each other. We shared unforgettable moments in several countries and states. On my wife's 34th birthday, I gave her a ring box with a note asking if she would quit her birth control so we could have a baby together. She jumped into my arms and kissed me until I lost my balance and fell to the floor, the happiest I'd ever seen her. She took me to the bedroom, past the bed, and into the bathroom where we flushed her remaining pills. Over the next 5 years, we lost 3 pregnancies. This hurt us both deeply. We talked and decided to adopt. The process is long, but in our early 40s, we watched our daughter, Mary, be born. The sparkle was back in her eye. The next 8 years were wonderful. My wife was the kindest, most empathetic mother I'd ever seen. All of our friends told me how lucky I was. At 50, my wife asked me to get a vasectomy to lessen the chance of another unwanted pregnancy. I had a bad case of the flu the week of my procedure and had to cancel. My wife got the same flu from me the next week. She wouldn't let me take her to the hospital, but I finally took her to the emergency room where she had a stroke that lapsed into a coma. 6 horrible days later, she passed away. Both Mary and I were devastated. It took almost a year before she would sleep in her own bed. She said she was afraid I'd leave too. Soon I received 2 credit card statements in her name. We always had common finances. The balance for both cards was just shy of $14,000, mostly in cash advances I sent for all the back statements. This got me thinking about the last year. Our intimacy went from normal down to once every week or two, to me giving and not receiving oral, but no penetration. She also had a few new foreplay tricks she'd never used before. We also went from talking over everything at dinner to barely talking by the end of the year, then to the point where she would avoid talking to me at all. All we had was a landline with 2 phones. She would get mysterious late calls, and the caller ID register was always cleared. Completely not normal. She went from a girls' night every week or two to girls' night twice a week by the end of the year. Her dress for girls' night also went from jeans and a sweater to being dolled up by the end of the year. She would even get her hair done sometimes. Then I got total confirmation of her affair in the mail again. I was blissfully ignorant and enjoyed the one-on-one time with Mary. Playtime, bath time, chasing her until she would go to bed, then story time, and kissing her on the forehead good night. After a couple of years of grieving and obsessing, my company offered me a job far away and I jumped at it. I pretty much just swept everything under the rug and we left. Fast forward 10 years and I started having these very vivid dreams that I remembered for days. My wife would be dressed beautifully, dancing and kissing her affair partner. They would go to their room and I would be a helpless bystander in the situation. The dreams left me feeling miserable. I finally went to an individual counselor, IC, who told me that I never got closure on my wife's affair. I, 64, just retired, and Mary, 22, wants to move back to our hometown. I am hesitant because I still don't know who the affair partner is, and I don't want to be nice to the person who betrayed my wife. I would be surprised if the affair partner was outside our circle of friends. I also don't want Mary looking up to someone who was involved in that situation with her mother. Should I ask my wife's best friend who the affair partner is? She would know. Should I dig all this back up because I'm obsessing again? I thought all of this was behind me. Please let me know. Now for OP's update. I want to thank all of you who commented on my original post. I tried to read, digest, and return your comments. It really gave me something to think about, and I appreciate it. Even the asshole commenters. After my post, I started taking my prescribed sleep aids. I've had 8 really good nights of sleep without a dream about my wife. I'm feeling better already. I talked to my wife's BFF yesterday. She was happy to see me, and we went over to her sister's for a Memorial Day barbecue. We went back to her place and spent some time catching up. Then I asked her if she knew who my wife was having an affair with before she passed. She was stunned and surprised when I told her. I think it took her completely by surprise. She said, "Oh God, no. All she ever wanted was to have a family." She reminded me that it was the year of her divorce, and rather than being less than a mile away from our house, she was now 20 miles away. They didn't see each other nearly as often as they used to. I don't know if it was a comment on my post or another post I read, but the commenter mentioned that when caught, the cheater would say she was lonely because I wouldn't talk to her, even though it was she who stopped talking. My wife may have actually been lonely with her manufactured cold shoulder to me and her BFF moving away. Another commenter said that my wife felt guilty and couldn't look me in the eye. My wife was one to carry her guilt around like a ball and chain. I had my list of 9 possibilities, and without showing her my list, I asked BFF who she would put on her list of APs. The first name she said was number 2 on my list, quickly moving to number 1. The next 2 I had thought of but left off my list. After I told her my reasons, she agreed, not on the list. The 4th guy she mentioned was number 1 on my list, now number 2. She had 2 more, and we agreed that it wouldn't be them either. Then I went through the rest of my list, and after discussion, we shot down most of them, but agreed that number 8 on my list was a possibility. Also, we both agreed that my wife would have had to know someone to have an affair. She wasn't one to be picked up randomly. When we were done, she asked me if I noticed anything about the 3 guys. She said that they all had the same personality. They would talk only when talked to, were funny, intelligent, caring, helpful, and somewhat perfectionist by nature. She said they were all like me, which is obviously my wife's type. That floored me. Why would she look for another me if she already had me? Were we projecting? Was she looking for that spark we had when we first met? I always left work at work. I tried to take care of Mary when I came home so my wife could relax. Did I not give her enough attention? I always hugged and kissed my wife in front of Mary. When Mary was young, she sometimes got a little jealous, and it was cute. Later on, when we hugged and kissed, Mary would hop up and down and squeal until I swept her up, and my wife and I would hug and kiss her between us while she giggled in delight. After we get moved and settled in, I plan on taking Mary to town for a weekend and dropping her with her friends while I go see number 1, number 2, and number 8. Hopefully, I will get the answer I want and be able to leave this nonsense alone for good.
OP, what will change if you confront the affair partner? Absolutely nothing. You're only consumed by it now because you are retired. You have nothing going on that will take your mind off in all of this. So now you're just needlessly obsessing over something that is so insignificant. If you really want to move on, then either get a hobby, get a new woman, or go to therapy. Viewer support is the best way for me to remain independent and continue bringing you these daily videos, which will always be here on my channels for you to watch absolutely free. So please consider subscribing to me on Rumble and on YouTube. Both will be linked in the description box down below. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you even somewhat enjoyed today's story, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and if you really like it, consider subscribing to PattSun to never miss a future upload. Stay strong.